Now, contrary to popular belief, a lot of businesses think if this doesn't work, if this strategy that I'm testing right now doesn't work, then I'm just going to find another strategy. This is the wrong way to think, right? And I'm going to explain why in a second. But what most people fail to understand is that if a strategy doesn't work, it's simply because there's a bottleneck. And in order for you to scale and make more money, you need to find the bottleneck that's causing the problem and fix it. So in this video, I'm going to be walking you through how to find bottlenecks in your funnel, fix them, and make your funnel more profitable. And I say this having spent tens of thousands of dollars on ads. And I'm going to use my own webinar funnel that we run cold traffic to as an example in this video. Now, if you don't know who I am, my name is Brilliance. We've built funnels for over 40 different businesses, and we've helped them drive well over $5 million in revenue using the exact same strategies that I'm about to teach you in this video and that I teach on my channel abroad. And without further ado, let's get right into it. So what you're looking at on the screen are some of the problems that we faced with this webinar funnel and some of the bottlenecks, right? But before I even go into listen out what all of the problems and bottlenecks were, this webinar funnel is still being fixed, but I just want to show you what we've been able to fix and how we like to think about these bottlenecks so that we take our funnel to the next level and actually make it profitable, right? So what you need to ask yourself, the question you need to ask is, what is the highest point of leverage that takes the least amount of effort to improve? Because if you can adjust that, then you're going to make your funnel flow again, and you're going to take it to the next level where you're going to fix another bottleneck that it's most likely going to be a constraint to your company growth, right? So if you ask yourself this question, that's when you can really fix that bottleneck. And let's take an ad funnel, for example. Let's say you have a click-through rate of, let's say, 0.3% on your ads, and you have an opt-in rate of, let's say, 5%, right? Would you rather go, yes, the click-through rate is horrible, but the opt-in rate is something that you could easily double, right? The ad is going to require you to go in, script new ads, record new ads, edit the ads, but the opt-in rate is something that you can literally fix in 2 hours. You can literally start testing in even less than an hour, maybe even a couple minutes, right? So you would obviously try to fix the opt-in rate first, because it's still going to be a component that you fix later on if it's, bad at this kind of starting phase of the campaign. Because when you fix that, then you can now go and fix the ads and fix the click-through rate, right? Because that's going to be the highest point of leverage. Because even if you're getting people in at a 0.3 click-through rate, let's say you double the opt-in rate from 5 to 10%, basically you have double the amount of people coming through your funnel, right? That might not be the best example, but that's kind of to show you how to think in terms of bottleneck. You need to think about what is the easiest thing that is going to have a lot of impact on our funnel, but takes a very small amount of time to improve, or is easy to improve, if that makes sense. Now, for our funnel right here, for webinar funnel, we had a $90 cost per lead, which was too high. And just to give you kind of insight into agencies and cost, like for an agency or service, if you're running the webinar, you're really looking to spend anywhere from, let's say, $10 to, let's say, even $30 on the high end for a lead. And realistically, you could get that down to, let's say $10, $15 per lead. It's going to be very good. And the reason why this had a $90 CPL was because the ad creative was not resonating, right? The editing was good. I thought the creative was good at the moment, but it turns out the market told us that, hey, based on these stats, these ads aren't good. They're not resonating. And what did we do? We created new ads, right? We could have gone ahead to, tweak the landing page, which we did, but the highest leverage here, the highest point of leverage was the ads, right? So we got, by fixing the ads and just tweaking the offer position on the landing page just slightly better, just making the ad creative good, took this to a $19 cost per lead, which is almost a 5x decrease in cost. Actually 4.7x if I'm not wrong. So identifying the correct bottleneck in this case helped us solve this problem of an extremely high cost per lead. So this is how the thought process, because we thought, hey, if this is getting an extremely high cost per lead, it's not really about the landing page, right? It's more likely going to be the ads. So that's what we did, and that's what we did to fix this funnel. Now, the next problem that we're facing right now is the show rate. So we had a 7% show rate, which is very bad. And a lot of it is most likely going to be about the timing bottleneck, right? Because, and again, like I made a mistake with this because we have had the show rates issue like multiple times, but I really didn't, think about solving it because I thought, okay, maybe we're targeting the wrong type of people, okay? But right now that it seems that, we have the right type of leads, it might be a timing issue because 7% show up rates is low. So because, and when you also look at it, we could have a potential problem, which is going to be the show up sequence. But again, the show up sequence was solid. We had 10 emails being sent out before the webinar. We also had text messages, about 3 text messages being sent. There were no calls included because we just had issues with our software. But now it's kind of leaning more towards, a timing problem, because these webinars were hosted at, let's say, 12 p.m. EST, and maybe, people just were occupied at that particular time that the webinar was being hosted. Because when we took a look at the open rates on the emails as well, it was really high, like 60-70%, even some of the emails 80%. Even the email before the actual webinar had a really, really high open rate, which showed that, maybe, the emails are good, but the timing of the webinar, because the clicks were very low, right? When we got to the last email sequence, the last email in the sequence for the post webinar registration. So that's what we're trying to fix now, and I'm going to keep you guys updated on that. So if we fix that, you're obviously going to have a better show rate based on these tweaked bottlenecks. Now, the next thing that that might come up if we fix that bottleneck might be the hold rates. And usually what's going to cause this hold rate problem is going to be, let's say, the webinar content may be drawn out, or the pitch may be too early, and that makes people feel like, you just had to sell them something instead of actually giving them value. So that's something that, if we experience, I don't think we're going to experience that. But again, I might be wrong, because, the data is always going to be more accurate than anything I'm ever going to say. So it could be any one of these 2 problems. And when we figure out what the biggest one is, then we're going to fix the problem. Because when you're hosting a webinar, for example, if your webinar is drawn out, then a lot of people are going to drop. Okay. But if the pitch is too early as well, a lot of people are going to drop because they feel like this isn't, what I came here for. I thought I came here for value. So you have to always keep that in mind when, hosting a webinar, because that could be a potential bottleneck that you face within your funnel. Now, after that, we are most likely not in our funnel, because we understand this. But again, like I said, we could face this problem of, booking rates, which a problem could be, pitching only at the end. So a lot of people wait to the end of the webinar to pitch, and that's a good strategy. But again, if you want to increase the amount of people that actually book calls from your webinar, you need to pitch somewhere, the 30-minute mark, or let's say the 45-minute mark, or really at the kind of the midpoint of your webinar, because that way, you don't get to lose the people who are going to drop off before you get to the end of the webinar. A lot of people aren't going to stay to the end of the webinar, just like any YouTube video. Usually when the video starts or when the webinar starts, the retention is high. It's 100%. It slowly drops off, 40%, goes up a bit, 37, 30, and you can see it just has like a stable decline until it kind of fades off towards the end of the webinar. So you want to take advantage of that midpoint where people are, still the retention is still high on the webinar. You want to take advantage of that and have a pitch in between. So very important to keep in mind. Now, after that, you could face a problem. The problem that you could face before the close rate actually could be the show up rate. And if you face a show up rate problem, it could be, and this is all developing hypothesis, it could be, okay, let's say people, aren't sure about what they're going to get, or maybe they're not incentivized enough to show up to the call, or maybe you just don't have enough, emails in your sequence that are going to remind people, or maybe you just don't have any sequence at all. This could all be problems. It just depends on what your business is. I have no idea what your business is. It's you that has to figure out, okay, these are the things that I have. These are the things that I don't have. These are the things that I think I'm doing well. What could be the problem, right? What could be the problem? That's how you figure out, okay, when you have all of these things, you can have multiple variables, and then you try to figure out what is the biggest one that is the cause, what is the biggest bottleneck that is the cause of this problem that is happening right now. And there might be multiple things contributing to one problem, but you need to find the biggest one and then drill down from there. That's what you need to do, right? So if the show rate is a problem, it could be the pre-framing sequence, it could be the show up sequence, and you just have to find the biggest one there, the highest point of leverage that takes the least amount of time to fix and is easiest to fix that, and then move to the next one that takes a little bit more time to fix and takes a little bit more effort to fix, okay? And then let's say you have a close rates bottleneck, a close rate problem. I keep interchanging these, but who cares? So let's say you have a close rate problem. Problem could be, the sales skills of your sales team your sales skills, or maybe you just don't have enough offers, right? And this was a problem that we had as well in terms of not having enough offers, which means that we didn't have enough stuff to sell people. And that means that, our close rate was still good, was really good. But, as soon as we added enough offers, we saw that, we had multiple different things to sell people, right? So if you have a closure problem, it could be, any one of these two things, or maybe it could be a different problem. It just depends on what you understand about your business, because no one knows your business better than you do. So, you just have to think about these things. And when you get to, let's say you solve the closure problem, you now get to, let's say, the fulfillment part. And a lot of people, let's say your team isn't operating as they should, or maybe they're not fulfilling on the product at the highest level possible, right? You now have to figure out, okay, what is the bottleneck? Is it the skill of your employees? Is it the communication? Because communication is extremely important. Like, just to give you an instance for one of our employees, we had an employee who wasn't really communicating with the client, very skilled person, but communication was a problem. So we had to find out what the bottleneck was. What is the reason why this person isn't communicating with the client? And it turned out that it wasn't anything within our workspace or our work environment. It was actually something external. So in that case, we really couldn't do anything about it other than just let time kind of solve the problem. And since we kind of give everything time, it's been basically a solved problem right now. So, you just have to think about these bottlenecks, think about your business, think about the constraints that could be happening in your business. And this is something that I'm constantly doing as well myself. If you're a coach, consultant, info product creator, or B2B business of any kind, really any business of any sort, this really applies across the board. And you need a full funnel built out for your info product coaching, consulting business, whatever the case might be. Just click the link in the description, book a call with me, and I'll see if and how we can help you. And if it makes sense, we move ahead. And if it doesn't make sense, then I'm more than happy to refer you to some of the best people in the space, because we're the biggest in the space and we have connections to a lot of the best in the space. So with that being said, I hope you got value from this, and I hope you go apply this to your business right now, because it's going to be a fundamental principle for you to keep growing your business. Is something to always keep in mind, because it's always going to pop up. So I hope you got value from this video. I actually enjoyed making this video, and I'm going to see you in the next one. Go watch this video here. YouTube might recommend any one of my videos for you to watch, and this is all we talk about here is just building funnels. So with that being said, I'm going to see you in the next video. Ciao.